Hey guys, welcome back to Contest Prep University. I'm Joe Klemczewski with Adam Atkinson. We're in episode 2 talking about meal planning. And I mentioned we're going to get right into pre-workout. That's the most important meal of the day, I think, Adam, because regardless of what time of the day you train, regardless where your calorie deficit is, you may be dieting pretty hard, you may be on a lower carb protocol or not. This is where it counts. This is where you're fueling your workout. This is where you at least want to sandwich enough food around the pre-workout and the post-workout for recovery that at least for that particular block of time every day, every week, it doesn't change. You still have enough food to train extremely well, very effectively, whether it's pre-contest or off-season. So let's go through kind of the different phases of pre-contest work in terms of food. What if you're training in the morning? What if you're training midday? What if you're training at night? What are the different things that you do for that, Adam?
Yeah, morning gets tricky because it's first thing in the morning. One of the biggest things I think for our audience to understand is the sympathetic nervous system is for muscle performance. The parasympathetic nervous system is for digestion, rest. You're going to release serotonin, and it's basically going to make you slow down so energy can be stored. So you don't want to be in that parasympathetic state before you train. You want to be in the fight or flight, that sympathetic zone. So simply by eating too much pre-workout, and a lot of times protein can do this immediately before workout. This can really affect your performance. So this gets really tricky because you want to have energy in the morning, but you also don't want to eat so much that you're in that parasympathetic zone. So it is very individual. You know, I have a lot of clients who can eat a lot in the morning and actually feel okay. I have people who prefer not to eat anything at all, but we know that they need to have a little something. So that might be where it comes down to source. Maybe a little sugar might be good, especially if maybe calories are high enough that they can still feel sated throughout the day by doing that. But in a nutshell, the size of that meal really is going to matter most for morning people, because you're right up against that wall on choosing enough food for performance and not having too much to inhibit performance.
Yeah, I never like to train in the morning, but for some reason, when I was in pre-contest mode, morning training really was a better effect for me, I think, because testosterone levels are a little higher. So just inadvertently through the years, I was able to look at all of my contests and discern that, man, every time I would have that morning training, I ended up retaining more lean body mass and I had an easier time getting leaner. But to your point, the food has to be digestible. And so my go-to was always something as small as maybe a third or a half a cup of oatmeal, which is a complex carb, but in that small of an amount, given enough time, 30 to 60 minutes, it was okay. You know, with a half or even a whole scoop of protein powder, depending on if I was going to have whole food after. But just something that small, you know, maybe 200 to 300 calories was the perfect zone for me, where I didn't have that heavy gut load and I felt like I was engaging, you know, my muscular system as much as possible. But for some people, as you mentioned, it could be even less. It may be just you know, a branched chain amino acid drink and a couple rice cakes, some really light carbs, because they just don't feel that anything in their gut is helpful.
Yeah, I've even had clients utilize Gatorade or intra-workout drinks. They're starting to get really popular now. So they might do that pre-training or during training if they feel like they can get it in. But I do recommend something, definitely not fasted pre-training for these morning clients.
Yeah, and if you're training midday or later in the evening, then as a pre-workout, you really have to just kind of gauge your overall meal timing. And so you and I were talking off camera, Adam, where sometimes it works better to have your larger meal still maybe 2 or 3 hours prior. So almost like you were ready to eat, but it's now time to train. So then you need, again, just like morning, just another small pre-workout meal. Because if you just have a kind of a gigantic meal 2 hours early or 90 minutes early, and then you're kind of in that in-between time where you're just maybe a little bit lethargic still, maybe you still have too much food in your gut, but you need to train. So I really do try and time it as you mentioned earlier. Just my bigger meal is about 3 hours prior. Then I have that little small pre-workout again.
Yeah, I think that is where most of my clients fall. Most of them are afternoon trainees, so they do have that larger meal, maybe a small snack immediately before training. I also let them know that they don't have to eat pre-training. If they're feeling stuffed, go ahead and move those carbs somewhere else, because you might just throw your body into a parasympathetic state by trying to eat more. If Because some days you're going to feel hungrier than others, and if you teach them that autonomy, it really helps them be able to be flexible with their approach and make good decisions about pre and post workout.
And that's a really good point, because you've also, since you're not training in the morning first thing, if it's midday or evening, you've had several meals or at least a couple of meals with protein. And so you're not at risk to be in a negative nitrogen balance. You're going to be fine. So you may, if your goal is specifically a little bit more body fat loss, be fine without that food. Or again, just something super small. When I have my lunch and then train a couple hours later, my pre-workout now is just something as small as like a granola bar or something. So just a small amount of carbs. Don't have to worry about protein, because that's going to come at my post-workout.
Yeah, I think that's another good thing to mention is these sources can be whole food post workout as well. So a lot of people think they have to have a shake. It really can be a whole food. I'm sure we'll touch on that in our post workout series.
Yeah.
But people automatically think of protein shake all the time.
Yeah, and it's a good point. And that's where we're going to pick up next time. So you guys will see next time, and we will be talking about the post-workout meal.